You're at the restaurant. The check arrives and, as always, someone says the words you've learned to hate. Let's just split it evenly. You ordered water and the daily special. The guy across from you, who makes less than you, ordered imported wine, a truffle appetizer, and dessert. You smile. You hand over the card. You swallow it. You're not generous. You're just scared. And it's not just the restaurant. You already know that. You've known it for a while now, actually. It's the birthday dinner you organized and paid for because no one else was going to do it. It's the friend's trip you joined even though it was $600 you didn't have. It's the family member who called you again because rent was due. It's the coworker whose lunch you covered because the moment felt awkward and silence felt worse than your debit card. You always say yes. Not because you want to, because saying no feels like becoming someone you are told not to be. Somewhere along the way, you are handed a rule, unwritten, unspoken, but tattooed into everything you do with money. The rule says a good person shares, a good person helps, a good person doesn't count. And you follow that rule so well, it's now costing you everything. And here's the part no one prepares you for. The people you've been saying yes to, they're not sitting around feeling grateful. They're sitting around adjusting their orders. The rule was never yours. You just inherited the bill. There's a name for what's happening to you. Financial therapists call it social wealth drainage. It's not one big moment that breaks you. It's the $47 here, the $120 there, the I'll pay you back that never comes. It accumulates invisibly. You don't see it on your bank statement as a category. There's no line that says spent on other people's choices, but it's there, every month, quietly pulling money out of your future and placing it directly into someone else's present. And the cruelest part, you feel good doing it. For about 11 minutes. Then the guilt shifts. Not guilt about saying yes, but guilt about resenting it. You gave the money, and now you feel bad for wanting it back. The system got two emotions out of you for the price of one dinner. You're funding their life with yours. Let's stop being poetic for a second, because this is where most videos lose you. They make you feel something and never show you the number. Here's the math. The average person in their mid-20s spends between $1,100 and $1,400 per year on what we'll call social spending. Dinners they didn't choose, events they didn't want, loans that became gifts, rounds they didn't start. We'll be conservative. Call it $1,200 a year. That's $100 a month. You probably spend more, but let's use $100. If you invested that $100 every month, starting at 25, stopping at 35, at a 7% annual return, which is the historical average of the S&P 500, you'd have 17,409 buys by the time you're 35. You didn't invest it, you split the check evenly. $17,400 gone, and he got the truffle appetizer. But wait, because if you leave that $17,400 untouched until you're 65, still at 7%, you know what it becomes? $132,000 from saying yes too much. Write that number down. Not from a side hustle, not from a promotion, not from a lucky investment, from one single behavioral shift, learning to order what you actually want and pay for exactly that. Here's what nobody tells you. The system doesn't accidentally create people like you. It manufactures them on purpose. Think about every message you received growing up about money and generosity. Sharing is caring. Don't be greedy. Family first. What will people think? Those weren't life lessons. They were software, installed before you were old enough to question the source code. A person who feels guilty saying no to social spending is a person who will always spend on things they don't want, for people who didn't ask nicely. The restaurant industry knows this. The events industry knows this. Your family knows this, not maliciously, but instinctively. The person who never says no becomes the person who always pays, and everyone in the room adjusts their order accordingly. There's even a term for it in behavioral economics. It's called social compliance spending, and it's not a personality flaw, it's a trained response. You were rewarded for it as a child, a smile, an approval, a sense of belonging. Now you're an adult still chasing that same reward with a contactless payment. You didn't grow up generous. You grew up exploitable. Now here's the part where I'm supposed to tell you to set boundaries, practice self-care, and respect your own energy. I'm not going to do that. This isn't therapy. I'm going to tell you what actually happens when you stop being nice with your money, financially. Specifically, year one feels wrong. You say no to the trip. You don't cover the birthday dinner. You stop lending money you know won't come back. People notice. Some of them say something. Some of them just get quieter. You feel it, the discomfort of being perceived as selfish. Sit with it. Because here's what's also happening in year one, that $100 a month goes into an index fund. Quietly, without applause, without a thank you, no one is posting about your discipline. No one is celebrating your restraint. The market doesn't care that you skipped the trip. It just compounds. Year two, it gets easier. Not because you stopped caring about people, because you started understanding the difference between generosity and financial self-destruction. Real generosity comes from surplus. What you are doing came from guilt. Those are not the same thing. Guilt is not a love language, it's a drain. Let's run the 5 years, not motivationally, mathematically, because that's the only language the system actually respects. Year 1, you redirect $1,200. You feel guilty. Your account grows by 1,284 including returns. Small, almost invisible. But it didn't exist before. You built it from a single decision, not a raise, not a promotion, not luck, just no. Year 2. The habit solidifies. You stop tracking it obsessively because it's automatic now. The balance hits $2,654. You don't celebrate, you just keep going. Year 3, someone from the old group reaches out about a trip. You check your balance, $4,114, and feel something unfamiliar. It's not guilt, it's options. You decide to go, but this time you book your own room. You order what you want. You split nothing. Year 4, $5,668. You stop thinking about what you're missing. You start thinking about what you're building. Year 5, $7,326. That's not a fortune. We're not going to pretend it is, but it's real. It's yours. No one else has a claim to it, and it's compounding silently, mechanically, without requiring you to be liked, approved of, or perceived as generous at a dinner table. $7,326, built entirely from learning to say no, and here's what that number actually represents. It's not just money. It's the first time in your adult life that your financial decisions were made entirely by you. Not by social pressure, not by guilt, not by the fear of being called selfish, by you. That's not a small thing. That's the entire game. The people who called you selfish in year 1, where are they financially in year 5? You probably already know the answer. They're still splitting checks evenly, still lending money that doesn't come back, still booking trips they can't afford, because no one wants to be the one who says no, still funding other people's present with their own future. Still waiting for the system to reward them for being good. The system doesn't reward good. The system rewards position, and position is built quietly, privately, and often antisocially. You don't have to be cruel, just financially fluent. The most generous thing you can do for the people you love is not to keep paying for their dinners. It's to build enough that when something real happens, a health crisis, a job loss, a moment that actually matters, you have something to give that doesn't cost you everything. Because when that moment comes, and it always comes, the person who spent a decade saying yes to every dinner will have nothing left to offer except sympathy. And the person who spent a decade saying no to the noise will be the one who can actually help. That's not selfish. That's the whole point. If this video made you uncomfortable, that's not an accident. Discomfort is usually just a truth you haven't budgeted for yet. Offlicit. The game was rigged, we drew the map,